This is the first wand I've ever made. It's a birch wand. I got it in a cemetery in Everett. And Rucker has a pyramid at the top of the hill there. I forgot his first name. And I did plumbing work on his house, his mansion. Ancient plumbing and ancient home. But you probably may have already seen, because I would have released it before this, a polar bear baptism that I did at the river right near our home. It's the Pilchuck River coming down from Pilchuck Mountain, or Mount Pilchuck rather. It's got a cool lookout up there with my daughter, was my first child. We hiked up there with her when she was like 6 months old and put her little hand mark with a Sharpie in a spot inside that lookout tower. It was really, really cool. She was like the youngest scaler of a mountain that we saw on the trip. However, Rucker, right? I got this from that graveyard on an old birch tree. I haven't had a birch wand before, and I was going to read some of the associations with it. The planetary association is Venus, and it's air and water as far as the elements, if I recall. It stands for rebirth and renewal, and is the first Druidic tree letter in the Ogham alphabet. I think it's called Bet or something like that. But it starts out also the Druidic tree months of the year. So it's about beginnings, right? And I didn't even have it. It's a pretty basic one in Druidry, being that it's the first letter of the Druidic tree alphabet. So here we go. Let's read about this tree. Also, I will be drinking this tea. We're going to do a little initiation in here. The initiation that I've done, I've included y'all in if you want to be involved, just listening or watching to the video. Watching to the video. But yeah, that Pilchuck River, it means red water, apparently, because the water is super irony. So, anywho's, the tea that I will be drinking from, I say all this now because if you want to take part and like get yourself some of this stuff and, you know, be in the moment with me, you can do so, or you can just tune in to the vibe of this gear that I'm rocking while I'm talking. This is the incense, Krishna. Hem. Incense sticks. It would be great if I could tell you what's in it. I don't know. It smells good. And in this tea we have organic astragalus root extract, organic eleuthero root extract, organic reishi fruiting body extract, and then a proprietary blend of organic hawthorn berry, organic cinnamon bark, organic fenugreek seed, organic safflower petal, organic cardamom seed, and organic Chinese blackberry leaf. In case you want that information and can read it. There you have it. So let's read about this birch tree stuff. Since you all are interested in more of my druidic side of things, being I never talk about it hardly, if you look in the description box, I've put all the trees with the wands that I use and which planetary associations they have. I just changed the pin on this to a more shamanic pin. Okay, so let's go to Birch. And I'll probably put the link in the description box below, but I've done some research on various sites and through various books on, I guess I've never even typed it in, on different druidic woods and what associations they have planetary-wise and what's said of them to kind of tune into those energies. So it's thegoddesstree.com. So good at life right now. I meant to have this all queued up. Going through a little bit of like a lot of energy, so pardon the intensity of it all. Working through it myself here. Oh, here we go. All right, Birch. There's a little tab on the left that says trees. You click that and then pull up Birch and we will read about that. It seems super symbolic. Birch into the fire goes in sign of what the lady knows. Betayalasi, the Lady of the Woods, first month of the Celtic tree calendar, December 24th through January 20th. First consonant of the Ogham alphabet, Beath. Let me show you this stuff just so you can tag along here. The Lady of the Woods, first month, yet we've said that. Planet Venus, element air and water, symbolism renewal, and this one says protection, and the tree of inception and of new beginnings. Stone, crystal, flower, daisy, birds, eagle, pheasant, and egret. Color is white. Deity is Freya, the white goddess Brigid, Venus, and Thor. And Sabbat is after the winter solstice as the days begin to lengthen again. Folk names are Beathi, Bereza, Berka, Beth, and Buelua. Yes. Medicinal properties. The oil from birch bark is used for treating skin conditions and insect repellent. The sap is a natural shampoo and can be a remedy for dysentery and urinary infections. An infusion of birch leaves is an antiseptic and diuretic. Magical properties. Birchwood is believed to ward off evil, banish fears, and build courage. Associated with beauty and tolerance, the birch's vibration heightens tolerance of oneself and others. I just recalled I took this with me into the water of the river when I did the crossing of the Great River / polar bear baptism. It doesn't come past my thighs, so it's not super great, but the trout were trouting. Anyway, I took this in with me, and I don't know, kind of like dunking. Oh yeah, I said on that guy's pyramid, it was a Masonic symbol. And the Masons were tied, if I recall, with the Knights Templar that I think tie to Gnosticism. So that's kind of interesting. But I basically baptized myself with this, and I don't know, the sense of having a tree with me that had been on a graveyard. I don't know, felt symbolic and like freeing the spirits, right? Something like that. Okay, getting back to it. Building courage. Associated with beauty and tolerance, the birch's vibration heightens tolerance of oneself and others. Use a birch broom to brush out the old year on the morning after winter solstice, the longest night of the year. Add the cut bark to protection spells or drink birch beer if you feel you are under psychic attack. By the way, this is a little clumsy, I know, but the sage's science or art is to cut little. It's the uncarved block theory, right, that I went with. We'll call it that. Too many jokes. Heightens tolerance of oneself and others. Use a birch broom to brush out the old year in the morning after winter solstice, the longest night of the year. Add the cut bark to protection spells or drink birch beer if you feel you are under psychic attack. Stripped of its bark, birch is the traditional Yule log. Traditionally, birch twigs were used to light the Beltane fires, and couples paired off to the birch forests. Later is when they began to make the maypoles out of birch, setting them up and decorating them as the focal point in the villages. The traditional broom of the witches was made of birch twigs, and cradles were once made from birch wood for the sole purpose to protect the helpless children. And here's from the Celtic Oracle of Avalon. Picture of this card of the faces of woman's spirit. Birch moon teaches of potentials that stretch before you. She reflects the possibilities as the spectrum of color glistens on her white glittery face. Like a mother prepared to give birth, her belly rises and she presents you with a teaching. This moon time will be like kneading bread and letting it rise before you cook it, Birch says to you. Now, with the essence of birch, you come into the rhythm of life, the empowerment of dreams, and the ability to vision your possibilities. Birch's essence is to create, bring together dreams, and prepare for the new patterns of living. Understand her. Use the lessons of the moon mothers you have already embraced. Look at the bigger picture. Listen and unfold your plans through creative visualization. A quote from Robert Frost, Birch Trees. I'd like to go by climbing a birch tree and climb black branches up a snow-white trunk toward heaven, till the tree could bear no more, but dipped its top and set me down again. That would be good, both going and coming back. One could do worse than be a swinger of branches. Gilly Dhu, a Scottish fairy who wears moss and leaves, is said to live in birch thickets, according to the Haynes Taliesin from the 13th century Red Book of Hergest. On a switch of birch was written the first Ogham inscription in Ireland, namely 7 B's, as a warning to Lug, son of Ithliu, to wit, thy wife will be 7 times carried away from you into fairyland or elsewhere, unless birch be her overseer. This picture of 3 sisters from the woods near my home. Just look. The site conductor has said. And then the Celtic Tree Oracle, I actually have this deck by Liz and Colin Murray. Looking into the Celtic forest, one that formerly covered the whole of the United Kingdom, the birch stands out as a graceful, slender tree with a characteristic white bole. The white indicates cleanliness and determination in overcoming difficulties. It is time for a new start. Before this can be safely embarked upon, however, all old ideas, unhelpful influences, and bad thoughts need to be cast aside. In making your spiritual journey with this tree as a guide, remember to concentrate your mind on the uplifting, slender whiteness of the tree, a whiteness that stands out clearly from the tangled undergrowth and confusion of shrubs and thorny bushes that cover the forest floor, and hence may inhibit an easy journey. Spell for intent. Gather strips of fallen birch and let them dry out. Using dragon's blood ink or an appropriate ink for your spell, write the keywords of your intention. As you do this, keep an image of it in your mind. As you say your incantation, pass the birch through a candle flame and drop it into your cauldron. From Whispers from the Woods by Sandra Keynes. And then The Green Man Tree Oracle by John Matthews and Will Worthington. Here's this picture. A good beginning leads to a good conclusion. Beginnings are always important, as are the ways we approach any new task. Good preparation and a willingness to lay the ground on which we will build are every bit as valuable as the eventual outcome. The Green Man's wisdom here is specific. Make a good start, and whatever you are undertaking will end well. This means paying attention to the moment of inspiration, which the Celts called awen, and following this to a satisfactory conclusion. Traditionally, birch was used to drive out evil spirits and return sanity to those who had become mad. Its calendrical association is with the beginnings of the year and with the sacred festival of Samhain, hence its connection with making a fresh start. The birch is also one of the first trees to flower in the spring. And this is from Anne of Green Gables. The birch path is one of the prettiest places in the world. It was. Other people besides Anne thought so when they stumbled upon it. It was a little narrow, twisting path, winding down over a long hill straight through Mr. Bell's woods, where light came down, sifted through so many emerald screens that it was as flawless as the heart of a diamond. It was fringed in all its length with slim young birches, white-stemmed and star flowers, and wild lilies of the valley and scarlet tufts of pigeonberries grew thickly along it. And always there was a delightful spiciness in the air, and music of birds calling, and the murmur and laugh of woodwinds in the trees overhead. And then another oracle card, I imagine, by Tree Magic by Gillian Kemp, and on it says it's the 8, the silver birch tree, birth. Like wood that grows upward by drawing strength from its hidden root, love will advance. Your life is potentially graceful and well-balanced like the slender silver birch. The birch and the moon, both associated with silver. Mother Nature presides over this tree, bringing maternal protection, a deepening relationship with your mother, and the encouragement to learn new skills. Babies' cradles were made of birch, signifying that an idea will materialize if it is nurtured. Like the silver birch, which grows almost anywhere its seeds fall, you will make the most of opportunities. The traditional witch's birch broom implies a fresh sweep around Halloween and magical miracles as if by luck. Purity and springtime, symbolized by the silvery white bark, indicate happiness. And then the great goddess Freya. Love and fertility, beauty and sensuality. Freya encompasses all that and more. Her cloak of beautiful bird feathers allows her to turn into a falcon, and her stunning floral arrangements show off her softer side. She was also a goddess of war and death, in that she collected half the souls of battle to help transition them and make sure they had a comfortable afterlife. When she cries, her tears turn to gold. She empowers all who seek her. Lessons of the Birch. This is from The Wisdom of the Trees by Jane Gifford. Here's a picture of a birch tree. The birch tree symbolizes a fresh start and can bring courage and determination to those of us who are treading the path of spiritual growth and development for the first time. Although the birch does appear fragile, it is in fact extremely hard. This teaches us that in apparent weakness, there is often to be found great strength. The birch also promises new life and love and is a potent symbol of purification and renewal, which focuses our attention on our potential for the change and on the consideration of new directions and goals to be experienced in our lives. It teaches the lesson of unselfishness and of caring for the needs of others in ways that help them to flourish of their own accord. Celtic moon sign, Birch moon. This slender tree is a bit deceptive. It appears fragile and delicate, yet it is capable of living where hardier trees cannot. If you're born under this sign, you too may present a rather tender front to others, but your inner strength is unwavering, and you'll lend support gladly to others who rely on you. Purity of thought and a knack for realistic evaluation is also associated with this tree sign. Since the whiteness of the birch stands out so clearly, in such striking contrast to the foliage that also lives in its native environment. Your quiet determination to succeed by following a reputable path is the stuff that heroes and heroines are born with. Written by Kim Rogers Gallagher and the Llewellyn's Witches Date Book of 2000. And the Birch Fairy. This is from the Fairy Bible by Teresa Mori. This fairy is known as the Lady of the Woods for her graceful presence. Like many fairies, the Birch Fairy can open the portals to the subtle realms. The birch is associated with cleansing and freshness, and the goddess Arianrod is invoked using birch to attract fertility and aid creativity. Being close to the Birch Fairy is clearing to the mind. She will help you let go of stress and have faith in yourself in the knowledge that you will find a way to cope. Birch is a potent female energy that brings faith and gladness. However, the Birch Fairy may become angry if trees near her are damaged. She holds something of the repressed energy of the feminine principle, which has been denigrated for many centuries, and she can be fierce. If you need a clear head for a new venture or need to leave behind you anything that is negative or contaminating, Birch Fairy is a great support. She will send cool, cleansing breezes that revitalize. More than any other fairy, she appreciates a little care for the wildwood being given in return. And then Ogham, the Celtic Oracle by Peter Prakenwick and Andy Baggett. Birch. Whoa, man. It's a goat, a pheasant, and an eagle in this. Or a hawk, rather. And a druid playing a lute. Why don't I describe the entire card before you even have a chance to see it? Okay, I will. Beth symbolizes opportunity and new beginnings. The power of the dark is waning, and the first signs of spring are emerging, symbolizing new energies and ideas. There's no struggle here, just a natural rising of newness that can only be blocked by those who adhere to old patterns. Let the past go and renew your faith in your path, understanding that if you follow the natural order, change proves easy to embrace. Opportunities exist for you to bring movement into areas of your life that have been barren or stagnant, which in turn will create new understandings and insights. Be patient, walk in the light, and the fruits of your labor will be realized. The first leaves on the birch tree herald the rebirth of creation and the dawn of spring. Where man has raped the land and then left it abandoned and barren, birch will come carried by the gore winds to bring back harmony and balance. It has a deep and long relationship with humans, giving it sap for sweetness, wine, and vinegar, its bark for writing and containers, and its oil for tanning hides. Birchwood has provided cradles, boats, and roofs, protecting and transporting humans for millennia. It cares not where it grows, and indeed favors places where other trees find it hard to establish. Then it sheds its twigs and leaves season after season until the ground is fertile and ready for its brothers and sisters to join it. I honor the energy of birch for a new beginning. I am able to change myself as I will to do. So mote it be. So that is a little bit about the birch tree. I have not got myself a wand in a while, and I checked out my friend's Etsy store, Patrick from Ireland, Midland Crafts. You should check out his Etsy store. But he didn't have any wands up. And then I looked up through some of my favorites and found a birch there and remembered I recently stepped into using purple heartwood, and it is phenomenal. It's associations. I don't have any wands that are associated with Uranus, but this one is. And it is also associated with Neptune, which so is Alder. Alder is strictly Neptune, and Neptune is also ash. Neptune and the sun are the ash tree. And it is also associated with the moon and Venus and Mercury. But stepping into this was really, really helpful and symbolic. And so when I saw that it said rebirth and renewal on it, and been sensing coming into a space, kind of like a chiasm, and we'll get into that too. I noticed an interesting pattern in the last 3 readings leading up till now. And also 2 days ago, I think it was the 18th, I believe, felt like the very center of something. And it was kind of like the eye of the storm. It felt a bit like that. And then here we are now. And it feels like we've crossed a line. The last reading that I had said we had crossed a line in a small way. But as I said, we'll get into that. Why don't I read some of those things leading up, and then I don't know how, I'll just maybe wave some smoke on you or something and play a song, and that'll be the ritual initiation, if you will. If you want to take part in such things. That is something that I do. It builds personal power. I believe that when you start out, you get energy entanglement with the idea or concept or even energy of a thing. And then you move on from there and you build kind of like a library of energies, and you can see how they kind of correlate. And then you get to, different cultures, gods and things like that. And that becomes intense because of, how many people believe in them, like an intense egregore scenario. I've been working with the Ta for quite some time now. I did baptism with him at one point as well, and my hair on my head. And some hair on him. I had to glue his beard back together because I broke it off like a champion. But super glued it back on. This was made straight up in Egypt. Straight up in Egypt, my friends. And yeah. Usually has a blue head, kind of like representing the sky. That's interesting too, because I associated with the polar bear, and his head broke off. I took him to a karaoke concert, and that I was singing at. In fact, I've got some of my a playlist that has songs that I've sang, and from that night was the night that I broke this. A bunch of people were dancing in circles, chaining arms or whatever, and I was doing that with them, and it flew out of my pocket, I guess. Came back the next day looking for it, and they had moved a table and sat it down on it, and I couldn't find the head anywhere. But it's interesting because I think there's something called the headless path or the headless way that really is similar to, kind of Taoist principles. Another god I associate with is Vishnu. The Krishna incense, for instance, also just Vishnu in general. Though, I don't want to be tied to any one thing, I'll just tell you the energies that I'm working with. And I don't have anything on him, but I associate this with it, this symbol, and then this with maybe Krishna. He was described as a little boy, and all the little stories of how kind of like a rascally little boy he was. And this kind of gruesome, but a little boy's head, a little bit. So it's like you've got this snake kind of thing that he rests on, Vishnu, and then you've got him incarnating into Krishna or something like that. But Yeah, these are powerful. I took these in with me when I did the polar bear baptism, as well as the birch, as well as jade for the Jade Emperor, which is in Taoist mythology, is I think supposed to be the highest god there, from a video that I watched. So don't take my word on that, ever. Words aren't real. Words aren't true. I'm drinking mushroom tea. Today we went to the co-op and I got these 2 buttons. Boop. And this one, books are magic. Got the Devil's Book of Spells, right? Or the I Ching. Not that it's associated with the devil per se, but the dream that I had about it. And also, whilst on mushrooms, I painted this. I did this thing the other. We could have a rave. We'll get calm. We will get calm when it gets into the actual reading. But we're getting to know each other, right? A little bit. A lot of you have helped me on my path, and I want to say thank you. Witch and Scythe, for sure. Helen of Eye of the Serpent Tarot and Timeline Traveler Tarot. Ram Sun. April 44. April... Snap, what is your April Rising? I don't remember. Yeah, April Rising 44 or something like that. And Ashley, my wife, with Aquarius Rising. And I think it's Aquarius Rising 23 or something like that. Anywho, a lot of y'all, love and respect, man. Anyway, I feel like we do that. We entangle energies together, similar with connecting with rocks. Wands. This is the first wand that I've ever gathered myself and actually used in any kind of situation. The next largest wand that I have is like 16 inches long, and it's a cedar. Never really use it. Just because it wasn't one of the main trees in some of the Ogham alphabet and in Druidic lore and that kind of thing. And so I just didn't. But there was a time where I would meditate with symbol, basically like some people call it a permission slip. For me, if I'm going through a time in my life where I feel like a cycle is changing and I want to go ahead and get a leg up and, you know, get myself over the hump and feel like I have something sturdy that's physical that I can hold on to represent that rite of passage. I had so many stones, but it felt like when I was meditating with them, they would kind of like definitely didn't give me energy or draw energy or exchange energy in the exact same way that I felt like it was drawing it from me, essentially, in some of them. And then I was like, well, it would be cooler to get associated with wood, since that's actually, there's a lot of wand woods and all that kind of shit. Where it came from is Harry Potter. I was playing Hogwarts Legacy, and you can design your own wands in that game. And I was like, kick ass, you can pick all these different kinds. Well, what do they mean? You know, and all that shit. And I designed a really cool one. And anyway, I use games to level up my spirituality as well. There's one that I've renamed a few times. At one point, its name was Pita, but now it's Vishnu. And I leveled it up and in sync with some culminating times in my life, semi-recently, maybe a month or two back. I leveled up Shaman, that class, all the way to the top 100. The game's called Gems of War. And this last one that I leveled up all the way finally was Oracle. And right now I'm working on Hierophant, which I think is like 67. And there's 100 max. So anyway, I take these things that I do in everyday life, like we all do them, and I attach symbolic meaning to them, or create kind of like an entanglement in the cultivation of something internal, because everything external translates to your internal world, and we're all just going around being hypnotized with whatever we expose ourselves to. And I'm choosing to hypnotize myself on purpose, if that makes sense, most of the time if I can. And when I do this, I find that life gives me little bit like quests and stuff that I feel when I do my I Ching readings, that signs are nudging me in this way. Plus, it also comes with feeling the energy of the times and feeling what it's doing and sensing I might be able to affect it in a positive light if I were to act in the way that this sage would act at the time. And I've called in one of my shorts, the I Ching is similar in my mind to like a book of spells. And I do feel like that's true. There's so much power in the words. Sages, Taoist sages, several of them thought that it shouldn't even be used for divination because it was intended for alchemical processes. And so there's power in it. And I often, like now it's like almost 5 and I've been up all night, went and did the baptism, polar bear baptism before this, and I usually meditate most of the night and then do my reading, but I try and stay in that kind of liminal space and soak everything up as much as I can, because I know that our subconscious is really what runs the show, and if you can plug it with some really, really good quality shit, then the shit that comes out isn't going to be shitty shit, it's going to be good shit. It's going to be stuff that's representative of the higher principles, like the ideals of the sages, which are just to go in reverse, get back to the innocent child state. It's pretty much as simple as that. We become 16 is what they say, and then mundane conditioning takes charge of affairs, and we learn intellectualism, talking about the difference between the right and left brain. In my mind, that's what I think of. And we have overdeveloped the left brain using logic and rationalism, which only is able to look at fine details and not see the broader picture. So we get caught up in our own little ego worlds. And the right brain could be termed kind of like the subconscious, where the gods speak to us from. And I believe that channelers, tarot readers, you name it, that kind of venue of people, psychics, mediums, that group really delves into that right brain space and flexes that muscle over and over and over and over and over again, get into that hypnagogic states or, the liminal space. And when we access that space, stuff comes out that seems to correlate with life in a better way than you can ever come up with, because some of it sometimes sounds really interesting, but when you see how life matches, it's almost terrifying because you're like, whoa, this is more and more real. So I just live my life in the flow of that to the best of my ability. I've tried very hard to program my subconscious with this stuff that it can use to speak to me through, that I'll understand. And it's taken a lot to understand something that my intellect and my rationalism won't spew out of its mouth, because I'm just, I've been burned by different beliefs, namely Christianity, but no ill will. I believe we can use any language to point at the moon, but it's like a finger. You got to realize that you're just trying to point at something that's ineffable. So, obviously certain forms do that better than others, and there's certain ones you can jump on board with to get some added, loosh power or something, if you want to call it that, to boost you on your path and make headway. I've felt as though from the very beginning of getting into this, I wanted to connect with people in a way where if we are all connected subconsciously, if there's this thing that Jung calls the collective unconscious that we're all tapped into, why are we being governed by shit that's programmed in that collective space that can't just be purged out and we can all kind of figure out a method together? to come up with a means to unshit the bed in all of the ways you can imagine that is going on right now. And I didn't know when I started that it would be so necessary, and I could never have imagined that. But I felt an urge to create sort of a well or a reservoir that everyone could draw from in times of need. And so I've dug down and created that well, and I've made sure that the rope is long enough that I can reach it, and the bucket is sturdy enough that it doesn't break, because you can change the city, but you can't change the well. Carl Jung talked about the I Ching and said that in his introduction to Wilhelm's translation of the I Ching, he asked it in an I Ching reading what it felt about him introducing it, or helping introduce it to the English-speaking world. And the primary hexagram was the well, 48, the well. And it thought of itself as a well that people can come to for nourishment. And it has certainly been that for me. I have needed a firm foundation. And my mom died when my daughter, who is now 16, when she was about 1.5, and she's my first child, so it's been some time. But then later I lost my Christianity. I kind of studied my way out of it, and no offense if anyone's Christian. So when I did that, though, it rocked my foundation even worse than when my mom died, because that was kind of like tying me to the universe or whatnot. And I felt like I've needed, with this like ravishing hunger, to figure out how to kind of slip with something, reach something out far enough to kind of touch the space of whatever that is. And just using the intellectual mind obviously doesn't cut it, but during moments of study, I spent over $10,000 on this Logos Bible software stuff, where you could do a Google search engine type thing and all the books that you got. And I got some Sumerian texts and Babylonian texts and stuff from the Nag Hammadi library, and all kinds of stuff that's just all kinds of different culture stuff into this program. And I could just type one thing and search through every single document at lightning speed and have it in the various translations, and use different dictionaries for the translations and compare. And when I was doing this one time, multiple times after it as well, but the first time I remember I was doing this, and I felt an immense euphoria when I was just digging into this information and trying to click these pieces together. And it was like just this like something that's different than using your rational mind. It's that other. And so ever since then, that's kind of been something. I find that with meditation as well, but often correlating meditation along with works that are profound and point at the ineffable, to be very much boosters on the path. And when they're alchemical Taoist divination systems, they do that even more, because not only are you studying something thoroughly that is trying to introduce you to the self, so to speak, it's also showing you what's happening in the moment, and you can kind of attune yourself to that and flow through the changes amid scenes of peril and disorder and chaos. And that is needed in the world, so you can benefit from what I've put into this. I've amassed a lot of readings. You're welcome to flip through them and just be like random one and see what happens if you want to do that, or you can follow along and do the ones in order when I'm doing them, or not. But this is something I've acquired for myself, and I'm thoroughly, consistently putting myself through rigorous study and discipline and level ups or rituals to elevate consciousness, or find a way to anchor in, oftentimes in non-duality, which I love, but it's not super helpful to just talk about something that you arrive at without being able to explain how one arrives there. And this being a system that is supposed to help people arrive there, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know all the Taoist shit. And talking to Taoist masters, oftentimes there's so much information that is in their native tongue often that they don't even, I ask some people questions and they don't necessarily know where it's coming from because there's just so much. And so I feel like trying to connect with the energy of a thing is a little bit of a shortcut. And whether or not I know all the ins and outs of it, I definitely feel as though it's reprogramming my subconscious on something that I feel like I can just click in time and step with spirit or the Tao or God or the universe or La Force. Yeah, or what have you. Fluidly. Kind of like dancing like Krishna with his flute. All around. Obviously, I have, attachments and things to the world and, concerns about my place in it and what happens to me and my loved ones and all of you and the whole world. But it shouldn't have to be one or the other, Right? Can we all just get the fuck along? That's all I'm saying. Let's get the fuck along, man. Heart chakra, bitch. Heart chakra, this shit. It's green. Yeah. It's got the Merkaba. All right. Let's read the chiasm thing. Show the painting I did on mushrooms. Y'all know I love Terrace McKenna. You my homie. Love you, Terrace. Okay. That's about it. These are the things, the synchronicities that I picked up in a chiasm of sorts. I'm not sure if it really is, but I noticed that the readings were broken up because my phone filled up in space. The first reading was 3 readings ago, and it broke it up into 3 parts. Second, 2 readings ago, broke it up into 2 parts. And then 1 reading ago, I was able to do the full reading in one go. So here's what I discovered when looking back over all of this, which was kind of interesting. So the last reading, there was a crossing of a line and gaining of the celestial jewel, but danger in losing it potentially. And corrective action was needed to turn inward and descend into the underworld. A day before that, I had put up a root chakra subliminal by Ritual, which is Witch Inside's other channel. And 2 hypnotic and powerful Tool music videos that also the lyrics were super profound in and applicable to time. The day before that, a Meet Your Spirit Animal drum journey from Ritual, in which you descend into the underworld, and shared also the song My Sweet Lord by George Harrison, and shared my intention for the channel, and then shared Rosemary by Deftones. These mean things to me. They don't have to mean anything to you. I don't need to get too far into it, but maybe you can delve into that yourself. And then the second reading ago, it was a regime change, and it was going to the underdog who has attained the mandate of heaven, overthrowing the ignorance of the self to restore illumination. 3 readings ago, the ego was needing to leave room for the self to speak. And the secret hexagram said the wind uses time to accomplish all endeavors. Be the unseen influence. The magus casts a spell that will produce an unseen influence. Whether the warrior advances or retreats, both decisions will bode well, so long as the decision is made with conviction. One must delve below the surface, perhaps into the unconscious mind, to understand the situation at hand. Do not change paths time and time again. Open your heart-mind to heaven. You'll be led to the right course of action. Take that path step by step, time and time again. The wind is favorable, small gains to be had. And I noticed in that reading, we're overusing the human mentality and not submitting more to the mind of Tao. We should use time to accomplish our means. So in changing lines 3 and 6, 3, there's an urge to act, and 6, there was acting through the human mentality, through a desire just to be seen, potentially. Thinking we can outsmart the divine mind with intellectualism and the human mentality, and trying to influence things too early is not a good way to do things. We should wait on a direct path to be revealed through the will of the self. These were my summation words, by the way. So take it with a grain of salt if you want. We should wait on a direct path to be revealed through the will of the self before taking action. The secret hexagram showed that at the pinnacle of culminating pressure, there is an overwhelming urge to act, which can easily be manipulated by those seeking to swing everything to the opposite extreme, and another negative outcome. That happened in politics. There's a whole thing with the shooting, and then they're trying to, like, you know what I'm saying? There's this whole, like, who do we blame kind of thing going on, and trying to just influence people to just be extreme. It doesn't matter which side you're extreme on. Balance and harmony are needed. We should wait on a direct path to be revealed through the will of the self before taking action. The secret hexagram showed that at the pinnacle of culminating pressure, there is an overwhelming urge to act, which can easily be manipulated by those seeking to swing everything to the opposite extreme, and another negative outcome. We need to gather ourselves and wait on the self for a good direction and the right timing to act. We should be more contemplative about the whole situation. This correlates with the one reading ago because it was talking about being careful not to be urged into the very next step that the ego might try and co-opt and get all that momentum just to do something ego-driven. And very similar message there in those ways. Then I said further about the third reading ago, which was broke up in threes. You don't always want what you'd get when you act on what you're urged to do with your thighs, through your thighs. What ultimately is most fulfilling is what the self would grant in terms of the highest good. It wasn't a good time to act, would have been ego-driven, a reaction, or over-intellectualized, and not give us the result we would ultimately want if we did get what we were acting for. And then I read from the Tao Te Ching this little nugget of information out of chapter 52. I'm going to read from this one. The Tao Te Ching, the Eternal Tao Te Ching by Benjamin Hoff. Promise we'll get to a reading. But if you aren't intrigued, God damn it. God damn it, beavers did. Kind of shit people tell you when you think you shouldn't use some words and other ones are okay. The world's mother. This is a commentary on the actual thing, on the actual chapter. All under heaven had an origin, considered as being the world's mother. When you get acquainted with the mother, you will accordingly know her child. When you know her child, you will repeatedly protect the mother. To the end, yourself will not be in danger. Stop your pleasant words, shut your gate. To the end, yourself will not struggle. Start your pleasant words, further your affairs. To the end, yourself will not be saved from wrong. Perceiving the small is called enlightenment. Protecting the soft is called strength. Employing the Great Mother's light and repeatedly returning to her radiance without leaving your troubles behind is said to be merely practicing constancy. I promised an initiation, and so you can self-initiate anytime you want, but if you look up to somebody, and you don't need to do that, but even if you look up to the idea of the sage that I look up to, you're welcome to partake in an initiation I'm doing for myself. I did these readings originally for myself and found that when I would record meditations for myself, just audio, I would go back and listen, and some of the things that I would do randomly coincided with things that were happening, like a train going by, for instance, right after I had like slammed my staff or something like that. And I noticed this picking up in consistency. And so recording things that I was doing was something I was doing long before I shared any of it online. But I never really filmed myself. But I felt that even just for me, going back and listening to the readings would be helpful, and put myself in that energy and that space so that I can kind of stew in it a little bit more and let it sink in a little bit more and have it read to me instead of me having to try and process and read it. I didn't even try to do summations in the beginning, because just trying to take in the information while you're reading so many complicated words is insanely difficult to kind of build up to. It's like storing information in these giant warehouses, but everything's super detailed and categorized in these little shelves and shit. You're like, God. Anyway, but you do it over time, and it just builds this inner world, and you're connecting energies. And it just means you get better at alchemy naturally, I think, because when you feel in an imbalance in some way, and you picture it in energy that you resonate as this, you can kind of think of the opposite extreme of that and balance things out a little bit and try and gain some equilibrium, which I think we could all use. So let's get it. Alexa, start last song over. Krishna incense, bitch. Get it? This is an owl feather, motherfucker. Get all up in that owl feather, bitch. Let's bring out the big guns, shall we? Alright. Palo Santo wood. Some sage too, motherfucker. Here is a crow's feather. Wave this one, Palo Santo with me with that. This is from somebody who made me a wand that I didn't have one of before. Don't think it was that one. Can't remember, I don't have it in that stack. Alright, here's an eagle feather. Bam! Whole lot of spending money. Gotta take patience. Something like that. This is George Harrison. He also did My Sweet Lord, which is a good song. That talks about Krishna and Brahma. My boys. Get it. I play the drums, but they aren't set up. I'd like to thank my mom. She's been here this whole time. Thanks, Mom. I smoked some of her ashes one time. It was like a sympathetic magic, if you see what I mean. Just a little bit, Mom. But what else? I had something of import. Oh, well, I mean, this is... Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, she made this. It's dusty as hell, but she worked with clay. This is her signature, dude. 2006, my mom made that. I broke it, but I've got a fruit bowl she made as well that's super kick-ass. She was skilled. I've got a maple one. It's a maple leaf. It's a candle holder maple leaf. I feel like the end of a video game. You know what I mean? Like when the credits are rolling, really takes the the edge of the nerve down a little bit. Okay, where's the maple one that I have? Dude, I gotta be overlooking it. Oh, this is fir, I believe. I've forgotten if this is fir or pine, but it's really, really Mars related and fire related. Don't go heavy Mars. Alexa, stop playing music. Ooh, I love that song. Alexa, play music.
Here's a mix with vibes similar to Czar Face.
Alexa, play Amber by 311.
Amber by 311 on Amazon Music.
So maple, here we are. Dude, Bear Paw Rustics made this. Thought that guy was gonna be Native American. He's got red hair. He looks Irish to me. Not that that's a problem, but just based on the name and how it looked in the logo. But yeah, the whole bear thing, right? Also, I found out that the Ursa Major, which, you know, the bear is similar to, is something significant in I Ching mythology or what have you. The Lushu Square, I think is what it's called. I think it associates with that, or at least a meditation. Yeah, speaking out of turn here, but basically that constellation turns around the North Star. And so it's almost like, my understanding of it is being oriented close to and orbiting that center point. And I connected with Polar Bear in a synchronistic way before I even realized that, which was pretty cool. But here we are, getting to know each other, drinking our tea together, shooting the shit. Me trying to think of more things to share with you. Oh, you can make yourself a little cauldron. I'm a plumber, right? So taken and made this out of various parts. If someone's interested, I can tell you what they all are, but yeah. Little alchemical chamber. What do they call it? A retort? Is that what it is? I think it's called a retort, which is something a trumpet does. Here's Ganesh. Here's a hawk. I use him to symbolize east. Here's my panther. This is the first one I connected with. Animal spirit. Oh my god, yeah. It took me down into the underworld. We merged. It was a powerful meditation. Accompanied by shamanic drumming, similarly. This is a Shiva stone. Or Shiva shell. I got this one out of my pocket. This is what I was thinking maybe I should check. I got this when I was a teenager. I dated my neighbor, and their gravel driveway had this in it. And I'm not even sure what it is essentially, but it's almost like an obsidian kind of vibe to it. Kind of looks like the shape of a bear. It's more bear than this is, so it doesn't have a fucking head. A headless path. Or like a bear. Ashley calls it frozen space poop. Alexa, stop. Okay, let's do some I Ching reading shit. And this is my mom's old watch, and I think I got her glasses sitting there. Yes. Oh yeah, these are her knitting needles. Okay, without the music, I can Gets old pretty quick, huh? Here's a pine cone. Oh yeah, this, in that vision where I went down with the panther and merged with it, this followed me out though. This motherfucker looks pretty devious, right? Devious son of a bitch. Rah. Yeah. And I've got this owl, Chalcedony. I showed that the other day. And the hermaphrodite kind of walrus shaman that was down at the bottom of this thing that was churning a cauldron. I have this to has that symbol. Their face was through the middle, and the first I saw, it was kind of like a gray-haired but young-looking, maybe you would call it like an elf-looking kind of person. And then it transformed into an old hag, basically, both wearing the walrus, kind of like a big trench coat, you know, walrus hide with the teeth going past the face. And so it's kind of like that yin and yang, I guess. Shit, I never even thought of it in those terms. Holy shit. I don't know. Anyway, let's read some I Ching. One tail, two heads. Young yin. Where's your car? Ah, two heads, one tail again. Young yin. I was secretly hoping for Hexagram 63. Two tails, one head. Young Yang. This is the Trigram Gen Mountain. Follow me for more sympathetic magicking your way into trying to save the world. Right? For more recipes. Three heads. Old Yang. It may get less and less jokier the more we move on. In case you're concerned about such things, like I am. Like the Ninja Turtles doing I Ching reading. Two tails, one head. Young Yang. Michelangelo for sure. He'd crack jokes all the time, I'm sure of it. Son of a bitch. Young Yang. He's definitely a young. He's even got like a bandana on his one eye. It's a Cyclops. Two tails, one head, young. What is that? Oh, I'm going to show you. Oh. All right. Dude, before we get into it, I promised myself we would read from this puppy as part of like the initiation. Is that what we're talking about? This came up synchronistically, and I had to check it out in the Bhagavad Gita. My copy of it, because couldn't make too much heads or tails out of the other copy. But we're going to read from chapter 9, text 21. Yep, starting from text 21 through text 26, I believe is what it was. Having enjoyed the vast pleasures of Svarga and exhausting their merit, they return to this planet, following the rites of the three Vedas, desiring objects of enjoyment. They take repeated birth and death. Text 21. Commentary. Being filled with desires for enjoyment, they take repeated birth and death. And then text 22. But I personally carry the burden of supply and maintenance of those who desire constant association with me, and who, thinking only of me, worship only me. Commentary. On the other hand, the happiness of my Ananya Bhaktas is given by me personally. It is not obtained by pious acts. They are at all times well versed in matters concerning me, and are always ignorant of all other things. Or the phrase can mean that they constantly desire to be in my association. For such persons, I take care of their attainment of wealth, yoga, and their maintenance, ksemam. If I'm butchering these words, I apologize. Though they do not expect such things. It would be unsuitable for the Lord simply to say that he performs these acts. Thus the word vahami, meaning carry, is used. The use of the word vahami indicates that the Lord bears the burden of maintaining their bodies in the manner that the householder takes the responsibility for maintaining his own wife and children. Thus one should not say that, like others, their attainment or preservation of bodily needs is due to karma. Still, since you are atmarama, enjoying within and indifferent to all things as the Supreme Lord, where is the question of you bearing this responsibility? The Shruti says, Bhakti is worshipped of the Lord, concentrating the mind on him, renouncing all material desires for enjoyment in this world and the next. It destroys all karmas. Because my Ananya devotee has no karma due to lack of desire, his happiness is given by me alone. Though I am indifferent to all else, I have great affection for my devotee. This is the cause of my bearing responsibility. As well, one should not say that in giving the burden of their maintenance to their worshipable Lord, the devotees show lack of prema. In fact, they do not give me that burden. Rather, I, by my own will, accept it. It should also be understood that I am not bearing it as a duty in the manner that I create and maintain the universe by my will alone. Rather, being attached to my devotees, I take the greatest pleasure in taking care of their needs, like carrying the weight of one's lover. This is Krishna speaking. And then 23, those who are devoted to the devatas, I apologize, and with faith worship them, they also worship me, but by the wrong method, O son of Kunti. Commentary. In verse 15, you have mentioned the three types of worship, and then to explain the third type of worship, you have recited verses to illustrate it. Okay, let's keep going. Why do they not get liberation? Rather, you said they again get repeated birth and death, and men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. This verse answers, yes, they do worship me. However, they worship without any rules for attaining me. Thus, they return to this world. Text 24 translates, I am the enjoyer and master of all sacrifices. Those who do not know me in truth fall down. Commentary. This verse expands on the phrase avadi purvakam. I am the only enjoyer of the fruits, and I am the only master, and the only giver of fruits through the forms of these devatas. But those worshippers do not know this about me factually. For instance, such persons think I am a worshipper of the sun. May the sun be pleased with me and give me my desired results. The sun is the Supreme Lord, not Narayana. He gives me faith to worship him and gives the results of my worship. Thus, lacking true knowledge about me, they return to this world. But those who worship me as the form of the universe, understanding that they are worshiping Narayana, the Supreme Lord through the form of the sun, attain liberation. It is thus indicated here that one must worship the Lord's vibhutis, such as the sun, while understanding that they are vibhutis of the Lord. And then text 25, translation 25. The worshippers of the devatas go to the devatas, and the worshippers of the Pitras go to the Pitras. The worshippers of the ghosts go to the ghosts, and the worshippers of me go to me. Commentary. But they are just worshipping those particular devatas according to the rules established in the books describing the method of worshipping those devatas. The Vaisnavas worship Vishnu according to what is stated in the books dedicated to Vishnu worship. What is wrong if those worshippers follow the instructions of those books? That is true, but the rule is this: the devotees of those particular devatas will attain only those particular devatas. And because the devatas are destructible, how can the worshippers of those devatas become indestructible? But it is understood that my devotees are eternal. They are imperishable, just as I am eternal and imperishable. Both Shruti and Smriti confirm the eternal nature of both the Lord and the devotee. At that time you alone remain, and you are known as Ananta. Narayana alone existed, not Brahma or Shiva. At the end of Brahma's night, he arose from Yoga Nidra and appeared before me as before in the form of a cowherd boy. My devotees are not destroyed even at the time of Pralaya. Text 26, translation. I accept that which is offered in devotion from the genuine devotee, having pure body and mind, who gives just a leaf, flower, fruit, or water. Commentary. For the worshippers of the devatas, there is extreme trouble, but this is not so for my devotees. In this verse, the word bhaktyata in the instrumental case literally means by the devotional process. But then with the next phrase, bhakti upartam, offered by the process of bhakti, there would be unnecessary repetition. The sentence would read, I accept that which is offered by devotion from whoever offers by devotion. Thus the word bhaktya in this verse should mean bhaktya sahita, indicating in this sentence a person endowed with genuine devotion, the real devotee. Thus the meaning should be, I accept that which is offered with bhakti from the real devotee, even if he gives just a leaf, flower, fruit, or water. Thus I do not accept what is offered by persons who are not my genuine devotees, who have only some temporary spurt of devotion. But whatever my devotee gives, I enjoy it in a suitable way. What type of offering is it? He does not offer it because someone told him to offer it, but he gives it out of love. But if my devotee has an impure body, I do not accept even that offering. He must have a pure body, ritually pure body. This excludes offering during, menstrual cycle or with other impurities. However, the word prayata atmana can also mean a person with a pure mind. No one except my devotee has a pure mind. As Pariksit says, a pure devotee of the Lord whose heart has once been cleansed by the process of devotional service never relinquishes the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, for they fully satisfy him, as a traveler is satisfied at home after a troubled journey. The sign of their purity is the fact they cannot give up the service to my lotus feet. Even if there is a trace of lust or anger, it is insignificant, like the bite of a toothless snake. We went to 29, so 27. Translation, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you sacrifice, whatever you give, whatever austerity you perform, offer it to me, O son of Kunti. Commentary, among all the types of bhakti you have mentioned, starting with bhakti of the sufferer, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and jnani, which bhakti should I perform? O Arjuna, because you cannot reject karma, jnana, and other processes in your present state and are not qualified for the supreme bhakti, kavala bhakti, and because you should not degrade yourself to perform the inferior sakama bhakti, you should perform bhakti with a slight mixture of karma and jnana, but which is niskama. Krishna explains this in 2 verses. Whatever you do, whether following rules of the Veda or whether performing worldly action, whatever you eat or drink in ordinary life, whatever austerities you perform, do it in such a way that it becomes an offering to me. One should call this neither niskama karma yoga nor bhakti yoga. The practitioners of karma yoga offer actions prescribed in the scriptures of the Lord, but not all of the actions they do in ordinary life. This view is accepted by everyone. The devotees, however, offer to the Lord all the actions of their mind, pranas, and senses. The method of bhakti is stated. In accordance with the particular nature one has acquired in conditioned life, whatever one does with body, words, mind, senses, intelligence, or purified consciousness, one should offer to the supreme thinking. This is for the pleasure of Lord Narayana. But when you mention that I should offer and sacrifice, that sacrifice is derived from arcana, which is an anga of bhakti, aiming at the pleasure of Vishnu. And when you mention austerities, it means vows such as Ekadasi fast. This is all Anyana Bhakti. How can you say that it is not? True, but Ananya Bhakti does not mean that you perform an action and then offer it to the Lord. Rather, in Anyana Bhakti, the action is done after first offering it to the Lord. This is mentioned by Prahlada when he says, I can't read that. And then he said this, now I'll try it. Iti pumsarpita visnyau bhaktis sen nava laksana kriyeta bhagavati. This bhakti of 9 types after being offered to the Lord should then be performed for the Lord. Sridhara Swami has explained this Bhagavatam verse. In Anyana Bhakti, actions first being offered to the Lord should be performed rather than performing the acts and then offering them later. Thus, the present verse is not included in Kavala Bhakti since the acts are performed and then offered. Text 28. Translation. By this process of bhakti mixed with niskama karma and jnana, you will be freed from the bondage of karma with its pious and sinful reactions. Being engaged in renunciation of results, being specially liberated, you will attain me and serve me intimately. Commentary, you will be liberated from the bondage of karma in the form of unlimited sinful and pious reactions. The Shruti says, bhakti is worship of the Lord, concentrating the mind on him, renouncing all material desires for enjoyment in this world and the next. It destroys all karmas. You, with mind engaged in renunciation of the results of action, will not only be liberated, but being preeminent among the liberated souls, will attain me. You will come close to me to serve me directly. Smriti says, O great sage, among many millions who are liberated and perfect in knowledge of liberation, one may be a devotee of Lord Narayana or Krishna. Such devotees who are fully peaceful are extremely rare. Sukadeva has also said, those engaged in getting the Lord's favor attain liberation from the Lord very easily, but he does not very easily give the opportunity to render direct service to him. This achievement with the direct service to me is far superior to liberation. That is indicated in verse 13. Text 29 says, and here we'll end after this. Translation, I am equal to all living beings. I do not hate anyone, nor do I favor anyone. To whatever extent a person worships me with devotion, I am attached to him in a similar way. Commentary, you liberate the devotees and then give yourself to your devotees, but not to the non-devotees. But then do you not show prejudice arising from attraction and repulsion? The Lord refutes this in this verse. I am equal to all. I neither hate nor favor anyone. The Lord then says, but the devotees who worship me with devotion exist in me, and I exist also in them. There's nothing special in this statement since the whole universe exists within the Lord, and the Lord exists everywhere in the universe. Thus, the statement should actually mean, as those who worship me with devotion are attached to me, so I am attached to them. This takes into consideration the statement, as they surrender to me, I respond to them. To compare the Lord to a kalpa vrksa, which gives desired objects to all persons without discrimination, is only partially correct. Those who take shelter of that tree do not become attached to it without desire for the fruit, nor is the kalpa vrksa attached to those who take shelter of it, nor does it hate the enemies of those who have taken shelter. But the Lord kills with his own hands, probably his, the enemies of his devotee. The Lord says to Prahlada, I shall kill Hiranyakasipu immediately, despite the benedictions of Brahma. Some persons explain that the word to indicates a different intention. I am equal to all, but still I favor my devotee. Thus it means that the Lord has some prejudice classed as affection for the devotee. But they explain, in the Lord, this is an ornament or enhancement, not a fault. The affection of the Lord for his devotee is well known. He does not have affection for the jnani or the yogi, just as other persons have affection for their own servants and not for the servants of others. The Lord also has affection for his devotees and not for the devotees of Siva or Durga. So there that is. Now let's get our trigrams. This is my bookmark from that. All right, bottom trigram, broken, solid. Again, that is Gen Mountain. The mountain is still. It is a limit where you must stop. Gen breaks each cycle to an end, defining a space where we can recognize, assimilate, and complete our experience. He creates a personal still center amid change where we can retreat for perspective and a firm foundation for new growth. He is well-grounded, confident, and of independent spirit. He is still and knows. Mountain is the youngest son, child of maturity. In the cycle of directions and seasons, he is the northeast, late winter, approaching spring, the pivot between cycles. I'll show you the pictures. Next, we will read top or outer trigram, solid, solid, solid. This is Qian heaven. Heaven upon the mountain. There's an indication I should go to a mountain. We were just talking about the river that I did the polar bear baptism in coming down from Mount Pilchuck. Maybe I need to climb Mount Pilchuck. Qian is superhuman cosmic law. Enduring, he determines the nature and development of all things, from the movement of the stars to the cycle of the seasons, to causing each individual seed to grow into its own kind of plant. Heaven is creativity in its pure form, the force that drives change and what endures within it. He confronts us with truth and what it demands, both as the absolute law of nature and as the challenge of individual calling, experienced as an inner law. He is both the awareness of what to do and how to be, and also the power to act on it. Heaven is Father, found in the northwest, the realm between autumn and winter, when the buds set and the seeds fall to earth. And when we put Qian heaven atop Gen Mountain, we get the hexagram 33. Once our fourth line transforms from an old yang to a young yin, that trigram will turn into broken solid solid, which is Xun wind or wood. Xun is both wind and living plants, whatever penetrates, spreads, and grows, shaping itself to the space available or shaping that space to its own nature. She is responsive flexibility, sensitively improvising and adapting. Like the wind, she can always find a way through because she never creates any resistance, and so her influence is subtle and gradual, but far-reaching. In the family of Trigrams, Xun is the eldest daughter, gentle and submissive. She belongs to the southeast and to late spring and early summer. That will give us Xun Winder Wood above Gen Mountain, which gives us the hexagram 53. And once again, we'll be getting the secret hexagram towards the end of the reading. And we will read the titles to our hexagrams from Lu Yiming's Taoist I Ching, which he wrote in 1796 as a Taoist adept. It's quite alchemical in nature, much like these nuts. Withdrawal. Actually, I was going to read the little snippet in the beginning, but this is withdrawal happened as the secret hexagram. I think it was 3 readings ago. I was talking about things being kind of like a chiasm. It's kind of interesting. 33, withdrawal. Storing positive energy, subduing energy, exercising strength with restraint, not using power arbitrarily. And 53, our supporting hexagram, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relation to it all. 53 is gradual progress, gradual practice following appropriate order. Oh, gradual progress, yeah. All right, next we will look at Kibi's I Ching Tarot to see the images for these that she designed. 33. Withdrawal. Oh, it wasn't this. This is retreat. She calls it retreat, and we didn't get this. It was something else. What does she say about retreat here? Flee without a fight. Hide away. Keep your distance. A true wise man senses conflict and does not fight, who maintains a sense of intimacy but distances himself from it. The line, first Yao, it is too late to escape. And then 53, progress, gradual progress. She calls development, proceeding in an orderly manner, taking steps. Couples, families, and organizations develop harmoniously. Like geese, migratory birds that breed and grow in the same season. View on marriage. And we were going to show the card of that, but I got caught up in reading the thingy. 53. Development or gradual progress. I'll hold this far enough away for you to see. Good. Yeah. Thank you, Keepy. Next, we will look into Hilary Barrett's I Ching, Walking Your Path, Creating Your Future. 33. Retreat. When we approach the I Ching to consult the Oracle, the question we bring to it will always have the general context of how can I act in creative relation with the spirits or forces shaping this moment of time. Cheers. Key questions. What must you do to stay safe and whole? How can you change your relationships so they support your integrity? Oracle, retreat, creating success. Constancy yields a small harvest. The old Chinese character for retreat shows a pig and footsteps on the road. Perhaps this pig is running away so as not to be eaten. Retreat means withdrawing from what can harm you, or what might swallow you up. It is a way to keep yourself whole. So retreating creates success. It is not defeat, but the way to avoid defeat, like an army that falls back and stays intact. When you retreat, you hide yourself away. You might disappear into the landscape altogether so that you will not lose yourself. Retreat moves away from threats and towards wholeness and integrity. It is a way to be constant to principle and to yourself by paying less attention to immediate results. The army that is loyal to a longer-term objective will retreat in good order rather than linger to gather spoils. The hermit, constant to the truth he perceives, withdraws from society into an inner space. He is not interested in claiming tangible rewards. Such constancy, offering no resistance and creating no friction, bears fruit in small, inconspicuous ways. Image. Below heaven is the mountain, retreat. A noble one keeps small people at a distance, not with hatred, but through respect. There's an image up here. Almost looks like a dream catcher or something. The mountain stands firm and still, and seems to be joined more with heaven than with earth. The noble one who retreats up the mountain shares this character. Staying close to what inspires, he is naturally distanced from what would diminish him. This happens through respect and without hostility, because to hate something is to take the ugliness you perceive into your heart. Sequence. Retreat follows from hexagram 32, lasting. They cannot last long in the place where they settle, and so retreat follows. Retreat means withdrawing. Perhaps you must retreat from your settled place before you are overrun. Perhaps there comes a time when pattern and routine begin to absorb you completely, so you withdraw before your individuality is subsumed. Pair. Retreat forms a pair with hexagram 34, great vigor. Great vigor means stopping. Retreat means withdrawing. Sometimes you can take a stand and hold your position. Sometimes you need to move away. And our supporting hexagram 53, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. Gradual progress. Key questions. What is evolving here? How can you be more patient? Oracle. Gradual progress. The woman marries. Good fortune. Constancy bears fruit. Gradual progress is the name of an ancient river. It shows how water flows gradually and soaks through. The long ceremonial preparations for a woman's marriage progressed just as surely and gradually towards the moment when the bride would come home to her husband's house. And the moving lines of this hexagram tell the story of the wild geese who mate for life as they fly ever higher on their way home. Bonds develop gradually, organically, as raw emotional energies are channeled into a lasting relationship. We grow into life's possibilities and evolve and come home into our relationships. This yields results. Gradually, almost imperceptibly, provided you have the patience to stay loyal to the destination as the journey unfolds. Image. On the mountain is a tree, gradual progress. A noble one abides in virtuous character and improves the ordinary. Here's some of these. Talks about a mountain and a river and somebody ascending a mountain. Interesting. And ceremonial preparations. The tree on the mountain grows very slowly compared to the one in the valley. it needs to put down strong roots. As it grows, it creates a micro-habitat around it, like the birch, gradually, subtly changing the nature of its environment. The noble one's good character has the same effect, causing a gradual evolution in the habits of ordinary life. Inwardly, as still and firm as the mountain, she settles into her high standards as if into a home, and reaches out in kindness like a growing tree. Sequence. Gradual progress follows from hexagram 52, stilling. Things cannot end with standstill, and so gradual progress follows. Gradual progress means advancing. The unshakable independence of stilling is not an end in itself. It allows no space for growth, and growth cannot be stopped. Gradual progress is founded in stillness, like the tree rooted in the mountain. The patience to sustain a growing relationship comes from self-sufficiency. Pair. Gradual progress is paired and contrasted with hexagram 54, the marrying maiden. Gradual progress, the marrying woman waits for the man to act. Marrying maiden, completion for the woman. These are two different experiences of marriage. The marrying maiden must adapt to a sudden change of state, but in a time of gradual progress, you must wait, perhaps for a partner who moves at a slower pace, perhaps for some part of yourself to catch up with your resolution. For there to be a real union, the two must travel and arrive together. And we will read our changing line 4, which puts a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. Take precedence over all other elements and are the most focused part of the reading. Changing line 4 has the general context, the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. Our primary hexagram again, 33, changing line 4. In retreat. Loving retreat, noble one, good fortune. Small people, blocked. You retreat out of love and respect to allow space and freedom for yourself and all involved. You avoid pointless confrontation and, again, out of love and respect for the integrity of all involved, you will no longer try to force things to work. It is a sign of strength and of a higher, more imaginative kind of commitment, to withdraw and seek something more natural and fitting. Small people cannot see this longer view, though, and so they only experience the retreat in terms of what is taken from them or denied them. However, they lack influence here and cannot prevent the retreat. In the last reading, it was like someone was going to stab somebody in the back, and in here, it's saying that you get away and retreat successfully. I take that to mean we successfully accomplished the will of the self in a dangerous situation. Next, we will look at Venerable Wen's I Ching The Oracle, which is a little bit more shamanic. Hexagram 33. Withdrawal. The Oracle. Retreat does not mean surrender. This is a strategic withdrawal into safety and seclusion while you plan your next move. When the opponent is on the offensive and you have neither the power nor support to prevail, recede and move away. Eventually, the opponent will come to a rest, and that is when you strike. Return to the Oracle to affirm when the timing is right. Now is a time for self-reflection, prayer to heaven, and personal growth. Beneath heaven, there is a mountain, absconding into the darkness. The sage maintains distance from those who are inferior. There is no need for enmity, but you must remain solemn and stern. Better to retreat for now. There is a small gain to be had if you withdraw from the endeavor. Hostile forces are advancing. Confrontation will not serve your interest. It is better to retreat for now, but do not mistake the act of retreat for fleeing. Do not flee, do not abandon the endeavor, and do not try to escape your opponent. Giving the opponent a false impression of victory is not the same as giving the opponent a victory. Withdraw temporarily and plan a counterattack. When the opponent has come to a position of rest and complacency, that is when you strike. The most profound degree of wisdom comes from knowing when to retreat. It is always the most difficult decision to make, and only the wisest are capable of making it. And our supporting hexagram, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. 53, Gradual Progress, Benabel Wen calls steadfast. The Oracle, do not seek overnight success, forego instant gratification. A tree can grow at the peak of a mountain if it grows slowly and steadily with deep roots. Building a strong foundation is more important than endeavoring for high branches. Do not try to change your nature. Instead, embrace your nature. Play to your own strengths. You are at the beginning of a long journey. You find yourself in the midst of unfamiliar circumstances, and you will have to adapt quickly. Before you know for sure what you are up against, retreat to a position of safety, slow and steady to the summit. A tree grows at the peak of a mountain, slowly, in accordance with the natural course of growth. That is how the tree can establish firm roots deep in the soil of the mountain. Grow slow and deep into the mountain, not fast and upward toward the sky. Stable roots and a strong foundation are more important to your endeavor than high branches. When faced with vulgarities, the sage responds with dignity, virtue, and benevolence. Slow, steady, and gradual development, progress one step at a time. Do not seek overnight success. Forego instant gratification. Do not be anxious when you see others appear to advance more quickly than you. Your success will come in time, and gradual success will be more enduring and powerful than their instant success. It is an auspicious time for the maiden to marry. Matrimony brings prosperity. However, you must let the union develop in its own due time. Do not rush any engagements. Take small and honorable steps. Gains and favors bestowed. The love and romance hexagrams. There are 4 hexagrams that address romantic love and civil unions or marriage. Hexagram 31 refers to the mutual attraction and sexual chemistry experienced by the young couple in love. Hexagram 32 refers to long-term commitment and a civil union between 2 people. Here, hexagram 53 refers to the engagement and building the foundation of a relationship. Finally, hexagram 54 refers to the propriety that must be maintained and the social conduct necessary for 2 in a civil union, if that union is to endure. And totemic animal spirit of the wild goose or swan. The 6 lines of hexagram 53 follow the narrative of a wild goose. The goose symbolizes loyalty and devotion in conjugal relations, and more broadly represents teamwork, cooperation, and integrity. Geese are said to mate for life and are protective of their mates and offspring. If a goose's loved one is injured, the goose will stay by the loved one's side, risking its own life, even when winter is coming, and will not join the flock in migration. Geese also form communities, and when one member of the community is injured, there will be members who trail behind to care for the injured. When geese fly in the V shape, it is to reduce air resistance for the geese flying in the back so the group collectively can fly faster, farther, and more efficiently. That ideogram for that word is also the word for swan. Thus, rather than being a narrative of a wild goose, hexagram 53 can be interpreted as narrating the chronicle of a swan. Go find Mom. Daddy's doing a reading. I love you.
Mom is in bed.
Okay, go see her. I love you.
I need my telescope.
I don't know where it is, buddy. Daddy's in the middle of something. Can you go ask Mom? Go see Mom, bud. I love you.
My telescope is at the...
I'm sorry. Go see Mom. All right. That was Noah, my 4-year-old. Thus, rather than being a narrative of a wild goose, hexagram 53 can be interpreted as narrating the chronicle of a swan. In both Chinese and Japanese myths, swans are spirit messengers between the celestial and human worlds. Used interchangeably, both the swan and the goose hold religious and spiritual significance in Zhao dynasty marriage rites. In one of the readings, I think it was 2 readings ago, that was split into 2, or maybe 3 readings ago that split into 3, but there was a transitioning of power from the Zhuang dynasty, I think it was called, to the Zhao dynasty. The Zhao dynasty I know for sure. And they were like outnumbered 3-1, and yet they attained the mandate of heaven, and so they won. Likewise, in traditional Korean marriage ceremonies, the groom's procession to the bride's house included a servant carrying a life-size statue or likeness of a goose. And once the procession arrived at the bride's home, the goose was symbolically placed atop a bowl of rice. The Khitan, a semi-nomadic people of the Korean peninsula who established an independent state along the northern borders of what is now Manchuria, would sacrifice a white goose before the winter solstice as an offering to the gods. The goose is a totemic animal spirit, was a part of initiation rituals in Siberian shamanism. Next, we will look at our changing line 4, which puts a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. Takes precedence over all other elements and is the most focused part of the reading. Changing line 4 has the general context of the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. Nope. Out of here, Daddy's doing the thing. It's not in here. I love you. This is all that's there. You can have whatever's in there, but it doesn't have the thing. Alrighty. Yeah. So changing line 4 of our primary hexagram 33. Withdraw. An honorable retreat, the sage prevails. The unscrupulous face their demise. The sage who retreats in wisdom and honor will be the one who prevails in the end. If you retreat for now and attack another day, you will be the victor, and your adversary faces a demise. In Confucian texts, this ideogram is used as an antonymy or an antonym to Junzi, which is a chief son, superior person. In statecraft divination, the 4th line prognosticates and the appeals of a great and virtuous leader, the sage. However, the masses are too foolish and ignorant to follow the sage. Instead of insisting, the sage abdicates the position of power for an honorable treat. You cannot force people into wisdom. The 4th line warns that the false prophet that the people have chosen, along with the people, are unscrupulous and therefore will face their demise. Wowzers. Okay. Next, we will look at I-ming's Taoist I Ching, which he wrote in 1796 as a Taoist adept. It's quite alchemical in nature. Let's hope it's a little bit less demisey. A little bit more less. Withdrawal. Withdrawal is developmental. The small is beneficial and correct. Explanation. Withdrawal means retracting. As for the qualities of the hexagram, above is heaven, strong, and below is mountain, still. Strength is based on stillness. Using strength with restraint, one has strength, yet does not lightly use it arbitrarily. Therefore, it is called withdrawal. This hexagram represents storing yang and subduing energy. It follows on the previous hexagram's sensitivity. In our 3 readings ago, our primary hexagram was sensitivity, I believe. Sensitivity is the path of producing joy by stillness, which was also a marriage-related hexagram. Sensitivity is the path of producing joy by stillness, harmonizing yin and yang. To harmonize yin and yang, the most important thing is to first subdue energy. Subduing energy means to still strength and not presume upon it. The quality of strength in people is connected to the primordial true energy. After one yin comes and mates with it, yin energy gradually grows and yang energy, of course, recedes. The developed person at this point knows the yin energy is active as a natural process and can hardly be fought, and so does not set about rebelling yin, but first aims to preserve yang. Preserving yang means gathering in the vital spirit and stabilizing it in its place, whereby to subdue the primal energy. If you can subdue that energy, the yang energy is not injured, and the yin energy spontaneously sublimates. Thus, there is a path of development. Jeez. Think that. Give me just a second. Quite the party today. Can it be done? Yes, it can. Can I kick it? Yes, you can. Can I kick it? Yes, you can. But can I kick it? Yes, you can. Can I? Baby. Run off that battery. All right. Back in the saddle again. Where the hell were we? Yes. If you can subdue that energy, the yang energy is not injured, and the yin energy spontaneously sublimates. Thus, there is a path of development within withdrawal. But withdrawal as a path does not mean avoiding yin, nor does it mean sitting there watching the way things turn out. It means using yin to complete yang. In using yin to complete yang, it is most important for withdrawal to be prompt. If prompt, the yang energy is strong and the yin energy is weak, so withdrawal is easy. If tardy, the yang energy is weak and the yin energy is strong, so withdrawal is difficult. In this hexagram, there are 2 yins and 4 yangs. The yin energy is still submitting to the yang energy. Withdrawing at this point, withdrawal is preemptive. Thus, the developmental path of withdrawal exists when the small yin is beneficial and correct. The small being beneficial and correct is when the yin energy has not gotten to the point of injuring the yang energy. When the third yin arises, yin energy is not beneficial and not correct. It gets out of control and beyond withdrawal. Therefore, the developmental path of stilling strength and subduing energy must take place just when the second yin has come forth. Then neither yin nor yang is injured, and yin follows the withdrawal of yang. The benefit and correctness of the small is also the benefit and correctness of the great. And 53, our supporting hexagram, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. Gradual progress. Gradual progress is good when a woman marries. It is beneficial to be correct. We got 2 marriage ones. Explanation. Gradual progress means going slow, not rushing. As for the qualities of the hexagram, above is wind, entering, and below is mountain, still. Staying in the proper place and slowly entering. Therefore, it is called gradual progress. This hexagram represents gradual practice following the appropriate order. It follows on the previous hexagram, thunder. Thunder involves practicing introspection in action, not acting arbitrarily. Not acting arbitrarily, one is cautious and wary. Strong energy resides within. The mind is firm and the will far-reaching. One can thereby practice the path of striving for the gold elixir. The path of striving is the path of restoring the primordial while in the temporal. Therefore, it is returning the non-existent to existence, so that what is gone comes back. To return the non-existent to existence so that what is gone comes back is not something that can be done in one day. The process involved is subtle, the course of work is long. It is necessary to progress gradually, following the appropriate order, before one can reach deep attainment of self-realization. The firmness of the hexagram stays still within. The flexibility follows without. Using flexibility with firmness, nurturing firmness by flexibility. Solidity is used with openness. Openness is practiced by solidity. Firmness and flexibility match. Openness and solidity combine. This is like the yin and yang in the second and fifth lines corresponding. True yin and true yang naturally form a couple. This is not like trying to force the joining of false yin and false yang. This path is like the way a woman marries. Usually, when a woman marries a man, the man first seeks the woman, using an intermediary to communicate. If both families have no objection, then the woman marries into the man's family. Mutually attracted, the man and woman produce children, who produce grandchildren, and husband and wife grow old together. So what is good for a woman in marriage is good for the man. If the man does not seek the woman and the woman seeks the man first, privately communicating without an intermediary, hastily seeking consummation, not only will the woman not be happy, neither will the man. Both the man and the woman will be unhappy, having merely attained a moment's pleasure, surely failing in the long run. Therefore, practitioners of the Tao work gradually, not seeking quick success. Firmness used with flexibility is like the man seeking the woman, not rushing yet not lagging, proceeding in an orderly fashion, more strongly as time goes by, is like communicating properly through an intermediary. When the work is done, it returns from effort to spontaneity. Yin and yang join, firmness and flexibility merge, and a bead of spiritual elixir congeals from nothingness into form. This is like the woman marrying the man. Man and woman espoused, they naturally give birth and rear offspring. Therefore, the path of gradual cultivation is good when it is like a woman marrying. However, though the gradual path is good, it is only beneficial if the gradual progress is correct. If it is not correct, it is not good. Among those in the world who practice material or sexual alchemy, those who cling to emptiness or stick to forms, there are those who do their practices all their lives without stopping. They are certainly proceeding gradually, but their gradual progress is not correct. So they waste their lives, growing old without achievement. What is the good of that? So it is necessary to proceed gradually in the correct manner, through investigating truth, completely realizing essence, to arrive at the meaning of life. From striving, entering into non-striving, from effort, arriving at spontaneity. Everyone can attain the great Tao. You get the Tao, and you get the Tao, and you get the Tao. It's under your seats. Just check. That's what I'm saying. I've been saying that. Come get some. Come get some of this Tao. 53, gradual progress. Gradual progress is good when a woman marries. It is beneficial to be correct. Did I read this already? I did, man. All right, sorry. We're going to read the changing line 4 from our primary hexagram 33, Withdrawal. Puts a pin in the map to say you are here, at least here are some places you may find yourself, takes precedence over all other elements, and is the most focused part of the reading. Line 4, the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. How can the work be done? 33, Withdrawal. Changing line 4. A superior person who withdraws well is fortunate. An inferior person is not. Explanation. When strength is used flexibly, and one can store away the yang energy when yin energy has just arisen, this is being good at withdrawal, without personal entanglements, being as careful of life as of a jewel, not letting any yin energy subtly spring up in the heart. It is therefore good fortune for superior people. If inferior people are adamant in strength and act arbitrarily, not knowing how to subdue energy, accepting the false and damaging the true, this is unfortunate. This means withdrawal should be rid of personal entanglements. We will also read the commentary sections on each of these, which sometimes are a little bit more alchemical in nature. just to make sure this reading is 12 hours long. 33. Withdrawal could be called inaccessibility. Heaven above, mountain below. There are mountains under heaven, which is inaccessible. Thus do superior people keep petty people at a distance, being stern without ill will. Inaccessibility means no one can know you. Above is heaven, below is mountain. There are mountains under the sky. The sky can contain the mountains, but the mountains cannot get near the sky. This is the image of inaccessibility. What superior people see in this is that when people bring trouble on themselves, being injured by petty people, it is because of being narrow and intolerant. Therefore, superior people keep petty people at a distance, being stern yet without ill will. To keep petty people at a distance does not mean to avoid them, but rather to cause petty people to keep their distance. Not having ill will means to deal with people tolerantly and generously, while being stern means to control oneself firmly. Superior people who practice the Tao have minds as vast as the sky, embracing all existence, yet aloof of it all. Tolerant of everyone, they live in the world without destroying it. They are in the midst of the mundane, yet can transcend the mundane. They are not disliked by lesser people, yet as their self-discipline and conduct are beyond the ordinary, and because they are conscientious, lesser people avoid them even though they themselves do not try to avoid lesser people. This is like mountains under heaven. No matter how high the mountains are, they cannot get close to heaven. Nothing under heaven is as high or large as mountains are, yet heaven can contain even that which is as high or as large as mountains. How much the more so that which is not so high or large. Only when practitioners of the Tao have the capacity to contain mountains, as it were, can they sustain the heavenly practice and cultivate the heavenly Tao. Being inaccessible without hiding, they are near to invulnerability. False followers of Taoism in the world who are small-minded and intolerant and get irritated and angry at every encounter and confrontation are naturally disliked and avoided by petty people, but they are never free of obstacles. And 53, our supporting hexagram, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence the direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. Gradualness, wood above, mountain below. There are trees on the mountain, growing gradually. Thus do superior people abide in sagacity and improve customs. Gradualness means going slow. Above is wood, below is mountain. There are trees on the mountain. Trees on a mountain will grow great and tall, but great and tall trees do not reach their full growth in a day and a night. This is the image of gradualness. What superior people see in this is that virtue is the root of human beings. Goodness is the most precious treasure of human beings. If they cannot maintain their virtue, they are not sagacious. And if they cannot transform their temperament, their goodness will not be great. Therefore, they emulate the stability of a mountain in abiding immutably in sagacity, and emulate the gradual growth of trees, not rushing or lagging, gradually sublimating the force of customary mundanity so as to return to ultimate goodness. Sagacity is the fundamental nature of ultimate goodness. Custom is the mundane force of accumulated influences. Custom here does not mean only people's customs in the usual sense, but includes all mundane feelings and desires, including greed, anger, and folly. When one abides in sagacity and applies it to daily affairs, one is sagacious in everything and virtuous in every situation. Abiding in sagacity, the person becomes one with the virtue of sagacity, and so rests immutable and unwavering in ultimate good. When the character is good, all the accumulated influence of mundane feelings gradually disappear, turning into true sense, without hypocrisy or deceit, so that customs return to goodness. Once the real is restored, the false evaporates of itself.
The real is thus within the false, and the false is not outside the real. With sagacity, customs must improve as a matter of course. The reason gradualness is applied in both abiding in virtue and improving customs is that since the human mentality has been in charge of affairs for so long, the mind of Tao is not apparent. Even though one abide in virtue, one cannot immediately do so securely. And even though one improve customs, one cannot immediately do so completely. When abiding in virtue is insecure, this is not called sagacity. When improvement of customs is incomplete, this is not called customary goodness. Abiding in the virtue of sagacity must reach the point where one is sagacious in all respects. Only then is the abiding secure. Improvement of customs must reach the point where all customs are good. Only then is improvement complete. When one's character is sagacious and one's customs are good, the primal is complete and the secondary sublimates. There is only goodness, nothing else. Returning to pristine purity, steady as a mountain, upstanding as a tree, the business of doing is completed and the business of non-doing comes to the fore. From now on, one practices in a different mode, using the natural fire of reality to incubate the spiritual embryo, whereby it is possible to enter the realm of unfathomability of spiritual transformation. And James Corn's Gnostic Book of Changes next we will crack into here. He is a practitioner of the Tao himself and has left helpful quotes from things like the Kabbalah or Carl Jung and other things as well. He synthesizes several I Ching commentaries here and gives his little summation at the end. Hexagram 33. James de Corn calls retreat. Other titles might be the symbol of retirement, yielding, withdrawal, retiring, wielding, strategic withdrawal, inaccessibility, disassociation from inferior forces. A quote from D.F. Hook. When an opportunity for something better comes along, do not quarrel with an impossible situation. Leg, judgment leg. Retreat means successful progress. Advantage comes from firm correctness and attention to details. Wilhelm/Baines, retreat, success. In what is small, perseverance furthers. Blofeld, yielding, success. Persistence in small things wins advantage. Much of the teaching of the Book of Change is concerned with the wisdom of restraint or withdrawal as the best way of achieving our goal under certain circumstances. So this hexagram is not necessarily unfavorable to the wise. This is not a time when we can hope to achieve much, but attention to small matters will stand us in good stead later. Lu, retreat, success. It is to persist in small matters is of benefit. Ritzema/Karcher, retiring, growing, the small, harvesting trial. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of conflict and consequent seclusion. It emphasizes that withdrawing from the affairs at hand to conceal yourself in obscurity is the adequate way to handle it. To be in accord with the time, you are told to retire. Wu, retreat indicates pervasion. It will be advantageous for the little men to be persevering. The image, leg. A mountain beneath the sky, the image of retreat. The superior man keeps inferior men at a distance by his dignified bearing rather than hostility. Wilhelm/Baines, mountain under heaven, the image of retreat. Thus, the superior man keeps the inferior man at a distance, not angrily, but with reserve. He does not hate him, for hatred is a form of subjective involvement by which we are bound to the hated object. Blofeld, this hexagram symbolizes mountains beneath the sky. The superior man, by keeping his distance from men of inferior character, avoids having to display wrath and preserves his dignity. The component trigrams, symbolizing mountain and sky, indicate withdrawal to a solitary place when circumstances are unfavorable. Clary 2, being strict without ill will. Petty people can be useful, so there is no ill will, but their pettiness cannot wield authority, so be strict. In terms of learning to be a sage, the celestial ruler is the master, and the physical body takes orders from it, so that the desires of the various parts of the body cannot cause disturbance. Wu, there is a mountain under heaven, this is retreat. Thus the Chunzi, or chief son or superior person, distances himself from the little men, not because of despising them, but because of maintaining his own esteem. The difference between the Chunzi and the little men is one of education and not of birth. Confucius was a teacher first and a philosopher second, for he said, education is classless. Every one of us has the potential of becoming a sage. Commentary, Confucius/Leg. Amen. There is progress in retreat. The dynamic ruler in the 5th place receives a proper response from his correlate in line 2. The action is in accordance with the requirements of the time because what is inferior is gradually increasing and advancing. The actions required during a retreat are of great significance. Leg. Retreat is the hexagram of the 6th month when the yin influence represented by the 2 magnetic lines has established a foothold. This suggests the growth of inferior and unprincipled men in the state, before whose advance superior men are obliged to retire. Yet the auspice of retreat is not all bad. By firm correctness, the threatened evil may be arrested to some extent. Zhang Su says, below the sky is the mountain. The mountain rises up below the sky and its height is arrested, while the sky goes up higher and higher till they come to be apart from each other. In this we have an emblem of retiring and avoiding. Anthony, the correct time for retreat comes when others are not receptive to us, when delicacy of feeling is lost, when we begin to be attacked by doubt, or when our actions no longer yield progress. The person who can hold his ego in check has many creative moments open to him. Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. When carried out with shrewd discernment, retreat is a strategy for success. The superior man removes himself from disintegrating forces without calling attention to himself. He controls his weaknesses by maintaining his serious purpose. With the possible exception of line 2, there is very little ambiguity in the hexagram of retreat. Without changing lines, it is a clear injunction to remove yourself from an inferior situation, influence, emotion, or way of thinking. The figure has certain affinities with hexagram number 44, temptation, which also depicts an inferior element encroaching from below. A quote from Lao Tzu, to yield is to be preserved whole. Suggestions for meditation. Compare hexagrams number 44, temptation, number 33, retreat, and number 12, divorcement in that order. What are the next 3 logical hexagrams in the sequence, and what are the implications of the series as a whole? And supporting hexagram 53, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence, direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. Gradual progress. Other titles might be development, the symbol of progressive advance, gradual development, infiltrating, advancing, growth, developing, gradualness, dialectical progression, step by step. D.F. Hook says the slower the stronger. Judgment. Leg. Gradual progress shows the good fortune attending the marriage of a young lady. Firm correctness brings advantage. Wilhelm Sachsbane's development. The maiden is given in marriage. Good fortune. Perseverance furthers. Blofeld. Gradual progress. The marriage of a maiden brings good fortune. Persistence in a righteous course brings reward. Lu. Gradual development. The marriage of a girl. Good fortune. It benefits to continue. Ritzema/Karcher. Infiltrating. Womanhood converting significant. Harvesting trial. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of gradually achieving a goal. It emphasizes that advancing through diffuse but steady penetration is the adequate way to handle it. To be in accord with the time, you are told to infiltrate. The image. Leg. A tree on the mountain, the image of gradual progress. The superior man attains and nourishes his extraordinary virtue to improve the manners of the people. Wilhelm Sachsbane's on the mountain a tree, the image of development. Thus the superior man abides in dignity and virtue in order to improve the mores. Blofeld. This hexagram symbolizes a tree upon a mountain. The superior man abiding in holiness and virtue inclines the people towards goodness. Lu. A tree on the mountain symbolizes gradual development. The superior man, in maintaining his virtue, improves society's customs. Ritsumo/Karcher, above mountain, possessing wood, infiltrating. A Chunsu, or chief son or superior person, uses residing in eminent actualizing Tao to improve the vulgar. And to actualize Tao is the ability to follow the course traced by the ongoing process of the cosmos, linked with acquire, D, acquiring that which makes a being become what it is meant to be. Cleary 2, developed people improve customs by living wisely and virtuously. Woo, there are trees on the mountain, this is gradualness. The Chun-Si chooses to live in the neighborhood known for its high moral standards and exemplary custom. Commentary, Confucius/Leg, the ascent of gradual progress resembles the fortunate marriage of a young lady. The lines ascend to their proper places, indicating achievement. Because the ascent is made correctly, the subject of the hexagram is empowered to rectify his country. He is shown as the dynamic ruler in line 5, central and correct. The alternation of keeping still and flexible penetration ensure that the advance is continuous. Leg, the written character for gradual progress is ordinarily used in the sense of gradually, but there it's connected with it also the idea of advance. The whole of it denotes a gradual advance like the soaking in of water. The other two hexagrams that contain the idea of advance are number 35, advance of consciousness, and number 46, pushing upward. Each expresses its own nuance of meaning, and here the nuance is the gradual manner in which the advance takes place. The theme of the hexagram is the advance of men to offices in the state, how it should take place gradually and by successive steps. Lines 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all in their proper places as dynamic or magnetic, and we ascend them as by regular steps to the top of the hexagram. The marriage of a young lady illustrates an important event which takes place according to various preliminary steps which must be correctly done in an orderly sequence. So must it be with the advance of a man in the